How can we use smart platforms to help communicate student learning? First off, we need to be able to walk the talk. Taking inspiration from earlier versions of How to Grade for Learning has been very helpful, especially when looking at using assessments that are formative in nature and being able to provide descriptive feedback as opposed to just letters or numbers. It also helps to make use of technology, so we're able to use things such as e-portfolios and courses like Applied Design Skills and Technology, which can take advantage of this communication strategy in order to show what is going on. This all helps lead us to more personalized learning, which can be more inclusive in nature and help students on their own personalized learning journeys. Now, with that, we have to look at some of the assessment pieces. And within those assessment pieces, we need to see that there are several layers that we need to look at. Everything ranging from the descriptive feedback to the students to summary pieces that can help parents understand based on their experiences in school, but also how do we make the transition over to the descriptive feedback loops, which is authentically showing what the students are up to. This has led to some work on a bit of a Rosetta Stone, a personalized learning profile that shows in a bit of a traditional way where students can be meeting certain course levels, but always redirecting people back to the ePortfolio where the richer feedback can be found. This led to not only learning from How to Grade for Learning, but now being included in the 4th edition of How to Grade for Learning and showing a bit of our journey on using ePortfolios and these descriptive feedback loops and learner profiles to help motivate students by taking away the fear of a mark or grade or will this be on the test and instead focusing on a deeper learning of the materials. So what does documenting look like? How can it apply with courses such as Applied Design Skills and Technology? And where does design thinking come in? Well, the nice part is by using some project-based learning and focusing on descriptive feedback along the way, we're able to come up with a wide variety of projects, some done by individuals, some done by groups, and the nicest part, sometimes hard to tell which of these students have an IEP and which ones are considered traditionally more regular classroom learners. The nice part is because we're focusing on those personal growths, we're able to document the way the work gets done over time, showing finished products and the various drafts along the way. Where this helps out tremendously is in the personalization and inclusion that descriptive feedback loops can provide to keep students connected with schools. My son, with his generalized anxiety and being on the spectrum, has led to sometimes having difficult times within school environments because every time a question is asked or a dog barks, 1,000 possibilities race through his mind, and it's difficult for him to figure out which one response the teacher is looking for. By using descriptive feedback loops and project-based learning, it's no longer a worry about what the right answer is, but instead sharing an answer and the steps and procedures you took to reinforce why that answer was chosen. It's a little bit following the mindset of Shelley Moore and her inclusion module, which even she says is now a little bit wrong, because if we are focused on personalization, there wouldn't be the green dots and the other color dots. Every dot would be a different color because that's what we have in the classroom. Very rarely do we have two students who are identical on their pathways for learning, and we need to be able to adapt and adjust in order to keep that learning connected to the students. Sometimes Calvin and Hobbes has it done rightly. If we have 21st century kids living in 19th century schools, we have a disconnect. That's where it comes into that important part about relationships. And one of the learning pieces I took away from this inquiry project was that idea about including more rubrics connected to the work that's being done, and especially reiterating the feedback that's been given both in an overlying format based on a performance standard, but also having some extra notes, especially in terms of progress over time. That's because sometimes you can look at the same object and see different results, and that communication piece where that descriptive feedback loop can connect parents into 180 days of reporting and checking in as opposed to 3 to 5 official report times makes a huge difference. We received a whole bunch of ideas as we were going through our different works and trying to focus on putting that value back into learning and not just focusing on the assignment completion. There have been some fabulous workers like that, and I still love using Spencer ideas for some of his work on design thinking. There are still some lingering questions because alignment is never easy. We still want to clarify and reteach certain competencies. There is still a worry performance standards are out of date. Is it fair to still be using them connected to the new learning outcomes? And we are, because they're still the best tool that we have. And how do we balance out focusing on the big ideas while still making sure that the key skills are there? You can't just memorize sight words and then go into poetry. You have to understand how words work in order to have fun with them and be creative in poetry and writing. Likewise in numeracy, if you're only focusing on how an algorithm works, 2 plus 2 equals 4, and you don't know the why, it's pretty easy to go down the Orwellian path and go 2 plus 2 equals 5. Why? Because it does. We need to focus on that understanding of those basic skills in order to get to the complex pieces. So what's next? Well, I know I need to do a little bit more work and put this together and come up with a bit more of an ebook focusing on the stuff that Ken O'Connor has pushed me on in order to create a bit more of a pathway and some easy accessible ways to explore the descriptive feedback, make those connections on the learning profile, and be able to communicate within the school community. And again, it comes down to that daily communication. This isn't just about getting a report card a couple times a year. It's about having that ongoing descriptive feedback loop so that parents can be involved in an ongoing basis. I've had parents who have advocated for the students by helping them write and practice a speech before doing it in school. And I've had parents help better understand why we are taking our time focusing on things in school and not focusing on homework, because we want the day to be busy and the nights to belong to the family. And still a lot more work to go. Thank you for your time.